In a quiet corner of the city, far from the rush of people and the shining lights of fame, there was a small hospital with tired walls and old floors. The place worked slowly and softly, like an old man breathing with care. No one knew that one of the owners of this entire hospital was the same man many people recognized from the screen. A man who never showed his power, a man who walked quietly among others. His name was Keanu Reeves. But today, he came not as a celebrity, not as a rich businessman, but as a simple visitor who wanted to check on an old friend who had been admitted earlier in the morning. The story begins with a moment full of tension, a moment that could change the way a person thinks forever. Keanu walked into the main reception wearing simple clothes, a plain shirt, old jeans, and shoes that looked tired. His hair was messy, and he wore no sunglasses to hide his face. He looked like an ordinary man who had walked a long way, carrying years of silent pain inside him. The receptionist did not look up at first. She was busy tapping the keyboard, trying to place a long order for supplies. When she finally glanced at him, she did not recognize him. She only saw a tired man standing in line like everyone else. Keanu spoke softly, almost like a whisper, and asked, "Excuse me, can I know the room of Mr. Thomas Gray?" The receptionist sighed loudly, as if she had been disturbed. She pointed at a sign on the wall and said, "You need to fill the form first. Go sit there." She didn't even look at him again. Keanu did not complain. He thanked her gently and moved to the chair she pointed at. Even though he didn't need to fill anything, he already had full access because he was not just a visitor. He was one of the silent owners. But he did not want special treatment. He wanted to act as a normal person, a stranger, because this allowed him to see the truth of how people were treated. As he sat down, an elderly man next to him dropped his papers. His hands shook because of weakness. Keanu immediately leaned down and picked everything up. He gave the papers back with a soft smile. The old man smiled too, but his eyes looked sad. "Thank you, son," he said. "These people never help. They always act like we are trouble." Keanu did not answer. He only nodded. He had come here many times secretly, hidden under a normal life, to see how the staff behaved. He believed there were many kind souls in the hospital, but he also knew there were a few people who forgot what kindness meant. Today, unfortunately, he was about to face someone whose heart had grown cold. After 20 minutes, a young nurse called Keanu's name, though she mispronounced it. He stood up politely and followed her. She walked very fast, almost annoyed, and spoke without turning back. "You visitors waste so much time. Next time, don't just sit there." Keanu simply said, "I'm sorry," even though he did nothing wrong. His humility was deep, almost painful, because it showed what kind of man he was, gentle even when others were not. The nurse opened the door to a consultation room. Inside stood Dr. Harrington, a man in his late 40s with sharp eyes, a stiff jaw, and an ego that filled the room before he even spoke. His white coat looked spotless, but his heart was not. He was known for being brilliant, but also for being rude to anyone who didn't match his standards. He looked at Keanu with a mixture of annoyance and superiority. "Sit," the doctor said, without greeting, without kindness. Keanu sat slowly, trying not to disturb the doctor's mood. But the doctor was already irritated. He looked at the chart in his hand and said, "You are here for Mr. Gray? Are you a relative?" Keanu replied softly, "No, sir. I'm just a friend." The doctor raised an eyebrow, as if being a friend was not a valid reason to visit. "We don't have time for people who come without purpose. Do you even understand the stress we deal with here? What job do you have that gives you so much time to wander around hospitals?" Keanu felt the sting of the words, but he breathed slowly and replied with humility, "I just wanted to make sure he is all right. I care about him." The doctor laughed quietly, almost disrespectfully. "You care? You look like someone who can barely care for himself. Look at your clothes. Do you even know how expensive treatment is here? People like you always come and waste our time." The words hit harder than any physical slap. The nurse standing behind the doctor hid a smirk. She had judged Keanu the moment he walked in. But Keanu stayed silent. He had learned long ago that anger solves nothing. Humility was not weakness. It was strength that the cruel could never understand. But something inside him, something deep and quiet, hurt a little, not because his ego was attacked, but because he saw how easily humans could forget compassion. The doctor continued, "Listen, patients need rest. People like you should just take a quick look and leave. Don't pretend to know anything about hospitals. You probably don't even know what real responsibility is." He leaned back in his chair and added with coldness, "Sometimes I wonder why people like you exist." The room froze. Even the nurse stopped smiling. Those words were sharp, unfair, and heavy. The doctor had no idea that the man he was insulting owned the building he worked in, paid the salaries he depended on, and funded the equipment he used daily. But Keanu did not reveal anything. Not yet. Instead, he looked into the doctor's eyes with calm sadness and said gently, "Everyone has a reason to exist, sir, and every person deserves respect." The doctor rolled his eyes. "Save your philosophy. I'm too busy for this." A soft knock came at the door. The head nurse, an older woman with warm eyes, entered. She recognized Keanu immediately because she was one of the few who knew the truth. Her face went pale with shock when she saw how the doctor was treating him. "Sir," she said quietly, lowering her eyes with respect. "The board meeting room is ready whenever you wish." The doctor frowned. "Board meeting? Why would he need that?" The head nurse did not answer the doctor. She looked only at Keanu, waiting for his response. Keanu stood slowly and said, "Thank you. I will come shortly." The doctor looked confused. He blurted, "Why are you talking to him like that? He's just some random man." The head nurse finally turned to the doctor and said, "Dr. Harrington, he is not a random man. He is the owner of this hospital." The silence that followed was powerful enough to make the air tremble. The doctor's face lost all color. His lips parted as he tried to speak, but nothing came out. The nurse who smirked earlier quickly looked down, ashamed. Keanu didn't shout. He didn't show anger. He didn't question or humiliate. He simply looked at the doctor with the same gentle eyes and said, "I did not come here to judge you. I came here to see my friend. But today I also saw something else." The doctor swallowed hard, fear rising in his throat. "Sir, I didn't know. I didn't mean." But Keanu raised his hand softly, stopping him without force. "You didn't know who I was, and that is fine. But you should always know who you are. Someone who is trusted with the lives of people. Someone who should care. Someone who should treat every soul with kindness." Tears formed in the doctor's eyes because the shame was too much. He expected anger. He expected revenge. But Keanu only offered truth and grace. "I was wrong," the doctor whispered. "I let stress and ego control me." Keanu nodded gently. "Everyone makes mistakes. What matters is what you choose to do next." The doctor broke down completely and said, "I will change. I promise." Keanu placed a hand on his shoulder and replied, "Then start with one simple thing. Respect people even when they look ordinary." Keanu walked out quietly after that. No dramatic exit. No arrogance. Just a simple man who left behind a moment powerful enough to change a heart forever. The doctor stood frozen, his mind replaying every cruel word he had spoken. He had humiliated a man he didn't know, and that man responded with kindness instead of pride. That moment changed him. For the first time in years, he felt truly human again. The story ends not with a shout, but with a whisper of truth. Real power is not loud. Real power is gentle.